Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we are going to be starting to create a tavern. So I thought it would be cool if I did a series on a tavern because that's one of the most typical things that you'll hear about in a campaign. And so why not start there? So I set up the walls and the floor tiles so that way it's kind of a basic shape of a room. It's kind of a little large, but I was thinking, if it was a larger city tavern, I mean, obviously you could make it bigger if you wanted or smaller, whichever. But if you haven't seen how to create the tiles and the walls, I'll put a link in the description below and also at the end of the video. But as the series progresses, we'll go ahead and fill up the tavern, this room, with the different pieces of furniture, which today I'm going to be creating the bar counters, and then maybe later on other furniture, maybe some doors and windows, maybe a trap door to lead down to the cellar, etc. So let's jump right in. So I mean, once you have all of this, I mean, obviously I have my scene units set to inches, scale of my grid to be 1/4 of an inch, and instead of hiding everything, I'm just going to click this down here to go to another layer so I can just have each of my different furniture items in a different layer. So it's a lot easier, a lot cleaner. And to also help with the outliner, if you're not used to using layers, you can go up to this little drop down box up here, and instead of all scenes, you can hit visible layers. That will change the layer. So I mean, the first layer, you'll see it has all of these tiles, and then this layer, I have nothing, which is perfect. I didn't have anything there. So you'll notice whatever you have selected, if you were trying to click on something, this will stay orange. And once you add something in, this one will be orange and this dot will change to gray, but you know that there's stuff on that layer. Cool. So I don't want to start with a plane, get rid of that. That was just as an example. So for a bar counter, I would like to start with a cube. So for the dimensions, I wanted to go ahead and probably do it about 2 inches long for the regular. This is going to be like the main bar counter. So the front, we'll make it a rectangle. And the bar counter that I'm creating is going to be somewhat modular. So this will be the main piece, and then I'm also going to create 2 rounded edge sides, but they'll be printed separately so that way I can use them or not use them depending on what size and style of bar I'm going for. So we'll focus on the main one first. So 2 inches for the z-axis. Actually, 1/2 an inch is perfect, so leave that as is. Why did that go? There we go. And then for the x-axis, oh, I meant to change the x-axis to 2 inches. And for the y-axis, we'll just do 1/2 an inch for now as well. I think that would probably be good. Yeah. So now that we have that set up, we can go ahead and tab into edit mode, and we are going to cut it in half by just doing Control R and hitting escape or enter so that way it goes directly in the center. Let's hit Z to go into wireframe view, A to deselect everything, and border select these, X to delete, X to delete. And then what we can do is add our mirror modifiers. Go over to the modifiers tab and go down to mirror. So make sure clipping is on so that way they don't detach. I'll make sure that it worked. Perfect. And I don't need this menu right now, so I'm going to go ahead and hit N to hide that. And we can get started modeling how we want this. So I'm going to go midway in between kind of basic looking and a little bit fancy. So I'll put a little bit of detail on it. Of course, stop wherever you want it to be. If it's more of a rustic or just beaten down, worn out tavern, you might want to leave it super plain. But if it's super fancy, then you can add a lot more detail to it. So for mine, it's going to be kind of a mid-level. Let's get the bar top going. So we're going to deselect everything, B to select the top, E to extrude, just drag that up a little bit, maybe about there. And then I'm going to grab this one, go to side view, E to extrude, and pull that out some. And actually, pull that down so that way the countertop is a lot thicker. Maybe about there. So I'll drag that back. So that way it's still within that 1/2 inch. It could be a little bit bigger. I guess it doesn't really matter. We could always play with the size later. Now we have that. I would like to add a subdivision surface modifier because I would like the edge of this to be a little bit more rounded. And then also, like I said earlier, I want this to be modular. So if you're not planning on having it modular, you could also extrude this end of the counter as well. So that way it has a nice lip going all the way around. But since I'm going to have corners that can come off and on, I'm going to leave it flat so that way it can just, you know, connect a lot more easily. So let's go ahead and sharpen this. So select your edge, Shift E, sharpen that. I want this to be sharp. That, and of course the bottoms. I do want this part to also be sharp. So we're sharpening almost everything just to get a nicer bevel there. And what we'll do is get that maybe about there for, yeah, 3 looks pretty good. And I also wanted the subdivision surface modifier on so that way when we add the details up front, it will match rather nicely as well. Let's go ahead and add the details here first, and then once we're done with the details, I'm going to add some shelving in the back as well, so that way it doesn't take up as much material when we print it, and it just has a cooler feature. Yeah. Okay, basically all I want to do for the detailing on the front is kind of add some molding. I think I've shown this in videos before where basically all I have to do is grab these vertices. I will have to turn clipping off because if you extrude with clipping on, it won't let the vertices go. So hit E to extrude, and we're just going to start size down. About there looks probably good. I'm going to have the molding a little bit larger. So, you know, do whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to turn the clipping back on before I mess something up. And what we'll do next is we can leave these sharpened because we will want that. Hit E to extrude again, size that in a good bit, and I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this, that, and now what we can do is grab these, whoops, E to extrude, go into side view. Oh, except first notice that the sides are thicker and the top and bottom are a lot thinner. We'll want to fix that first. So undo the extrude, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab this edge and this edge and size along the Z axis. So just to make it look a little bit more even, about there. Grab these, go into side view, E to extrude, and just draw that out. Maybe about there. Looks good. I'm going to undo the sharpen, so that way it's rounded. But I will want to sharpen other edges. So I want those. I need to make sure I grab these corners. This corner, that corner, and you'll want to make sure you grab the inner corners as well. And then there's some funkiness going on here. Oh, you'll want to also sharpen these corners as well. So whenever you see something weird going on, like we saw those normals were acting up, you want to make sure you go into wireframe view, see what the mesh is doing, and then you can adjust accordingly. So once we have all of that sharpened, this looks pretty good. If you wanted it to be even rounder, you could add a loop through here, go into side view and pull this out so that way it gives you even nicer, rounder bezel. I think I like that bump out more. That way it's a little less flat. Cool. That looks pretty good. Of course, you could add more details in the side of this. I was kind of planning on either leaving it plain when I painted it, or you could paint in some designs in there too. It kind of makes it almost like a picture frame. Actually looks kind of neat. Anyway, so for the shelving, so we're going to flip around to the back here. You can hit Control-1, and we will go ahead uncheck the clipping again, so that way we can get this edge here. And for this, I'm actually going to go ahead and add a loop here. First, we'll go ahead and grab this face, E to extrude, size that in, and we'll hit E to extrude and size that in to try and match up. And then we can, let's see, size that in a little more. That looks pretty good. And then what we can do, E to extrude, go to side view, wireframe view, and pull those back. And you'll probably want to sharpen basically all of those. So I think I just want my shells to be that deep. I want to switch this to vertice mode though. Shift E, sharpen those, and we'll make sure we grab these edges as well, just like with the front. Perfect, so now there's some cool shelves on the back. Tab out of that, and there is our basic counter. So make sure basic 2-inch counter. Perfect. Now, just in case I want to add in more detail later, I am just going to duplicate this. And with the duplicate, I'll go ahead and apply the modifiers. And then in order to see how it looks in the room, I can just hit M. And this little box will come up, move to layer, and I have everything else in my first layer. Click that, you'll notice it disappeared, and all of a sudden, like I mentioned before, the orange dot will light up wherever your selected item is. So it changed to here, so we can click that layer and it moved to right there. Obviously it's not in the right spot, but we can adjust. So let's go ahead and move this around. Say it sits like right there. And you can adjust, so maybe move it up to the front so that way the guy can be sitting or standing in the back here with, you know, later on we can make some shelves to stand behind the counters, or you can make it bigger if you want. So for the next counters, I'm just going to go ahead and use the same layer since it's still counter related, so that way this layer is kind of like my counter layer. So I am going to start with a box again for the corners. Mesh, cube, corner, counter. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and start modeling our counter. Tab into edit mode, and then that way it'll leave our origin in here. Add modifier, mirror. We're only going to model one side, but the other side will be mirrored for us, so that'll work great. Go on a side view. We'll go ahead and set up our dimensions. So the other one is 1/2 inch, and 2 inch for the X. So I'm going to model it along the Y axis this time. So I'm going to leave everything except for this one. I'm going to change to 1.5 inches. So I don't want it to be as long, but I think 1.5 would look kind of good. So let's tab into edit mode, move this over, and we're going to add a mirror modifier, so that way we'll model the one side and the other one will just already be mirrored for us. We don't have to do anything. I'm going to go into top view, and actually first thing we'll want to do is add in our countertop, which we will want to go ahead and unhide this so we can get the dimensions right for it. So let's go to wireframe view, make sure we have all of our edges selected, pull that all the way up. Whoops, wrong button. Grab this one, let's go into side view, pull this up to match that. Perfect. That works great. So now we can unhide that, or rehide that, sorry. Go back into this view and we can grab this face and this face. Oh goodness. This face. And actually, let's go ahead and do that again. Grab everything, pull this back so we can model them kind of at the same. There we go. That. Right there. So you can make sure they're exactly the same. Okay. This face and this face. E to extrude. Go to top view. And we are going to pull this one out first. Right there. And we can grab this one and pull this out to make it match. Looks pretty good. And just like before, in case if I add more counters, I'm going to leave this flat as well as this side so that way they connect up nicely. So let's add in our subdivision surface modifier to get that nice rounded edge. Wireframe view, border select, Shift E. Border select, Shift E. So after you have all those sharpened, you could certainly leave it more square like this, or I was thinking of having this actually rounded to just give it a little bit more, I don't know, just make it look a little prettier. So I'm gonna do Control R, whoops, go into top view and pull this back to match about there. Grab this edge, Shift E to unsharpen it. So that way it is nice and round there as well. So I really like the look of that instead. So that way it's, I don't know, just a little bit different and I think it looks a little bit more sleek. Cool. And then we can go ahead and just take this edge and make it match this frame. So what we'll do, just like before, grab these 4 vertices, E to extrude, go into side view, size it in. And we want to make it match pretty good. So what I'll do is grab this counter, whoops, go to top view, rotate Z, rotate 90, nope, rotate negative 90 degrees. I'm going to hide this and there. Perfect. So now I can see exactly where my rectangle is. So I'll size this in some more. These ones in there. That up. And that down. Okay, perfect. So I'll just go ahead and hide that again. Grab all of these. Make sure it's sharpened. E to extrude. Actually, unhide that. Size it. Make it match. Perfect. Now we can just go ahead, grab these faces. E to extrude. About there. unsharpen them and sharpen everything else. Now we can go ahead, hit Shift D, duplicate it, apply our modifiers on the duplicate. And if you're interested, if you want to make sure they are separate pieces when you go to print them out, you can tab in, grab all of one, and then you can hit P by selection, and that will become a separate mesh. So you'll notice there's a second one here now. So we'll just go ahead and grab both of these, hit M to move them, go to the first layer, and they're there. Obviously, you still have to reposition them again, just like the others, or the other one, sorry. Pull that back about there. And pull it down. And I'm just doing this to give you guys a visual. You don't actually have to create the room in Blender unless you really want to. I just thought it'd be cool to see it come together. Okay, so there are our 3 different bar counters. If you have anything specific that you would like to see come up in the tavern, please leave it in the comments below. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments below. I don't mind answering any questions, requests, or concerns, or if you have any tips or hints or anything like that, I would love to hear those as well. And just be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.